Hello and welcome to Chabot News for September 28, 2022. My name is Don, and today we'll be covering a shooting in Oakland, a Berkeley solidarity demonstration, and a Mariachi Festival. All that and more coming up on Chabot News. Oakland police and the California Highway Patrol overnight Thursday were investigating a fatal shooting after a person was found dead inside a vehicle just before 11 p.m. Wednesday on 51st Avenue near the corner of International Boulevard. Officers found the victim inside a white van suffering from at least one gunshot wound. The person was declared dead at the scene. It's the fourth fatal shooting this week in Oakland, and it comes less than 24 hours after California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced the creation of a new state office focused on gun violence prevention. Details about the victim and the latest shooting were not immediately available, and no suspects were arrested or identified. On to other news. Reporting from Berkeley, California, demonstrators gathered at UC Berkeley on Friday in solidarity with protesters who have been rallying for women's rights in Iran this week. It is in response to the death of a 22-year-old woman who died in the custody of Iran's morality police. She reportedly was detained for improperly covering her hair with the Islamic headscarf known as the hijab. Mourners came together for a candlelight vigil asking for justice. In the meantime, Iran's state TV is suggesting that 26 protesters and police have been killed since violence erupted over the weekend. Hayward announced that their annual Mariachi Festival returns September 30th, 2022. There will be mariachi bands, a taco eating contest, an outdoor market celebrating Mexico's Independence Day, and Hispanic Heritage Month. There will also be music, dancing, food, and art, highlighting the 12th annual Hayward Mariachi Festival from 5 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. Friday, September 30th, 2022. The family-friendly event is hosted by the Hayward Chamber of Commerce Latino Business Roundtable. Don't forget to stop by on September 30th to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. More news from Hayward as the public library opened its new freestanding breastfeeding and pumping station at the downtown library with a ribbon-cutting ceremony. August was National Breastfeeding Month. In honor of that, the city of Hayward and the Hayward Public Library are proud of their commitment to supporting families and children by opening these new stations. The new breastfeeding and pumping stations will provide privacy to parents who are in the library or in the downtown area. Spread the word so that parents and their mothers can know about these stations. For the fifth consecutive time, the Federal Reserve is taking action aimed at tackling record-high inflation. On Wednesday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell announced it raised interest rates again by another 0.75 percentage point. In today's Consumer Watch, a look at what this repeated action means for borrowers, from credit card users to car and home buyers.
Aggressive action from the Fed. On Wednesday, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell announcing the fifth consecutive interest rate hike this year.
The FOMC raised its policy interest rate by 0.75 percentage point.
And economists aren't surprised and expect more rate increases are ahead of us. The Fed taking drastic action to slam the brakes on the hot economy and historic inflation.
They're obviously very concerned about inflation and raising rates very aggressively to slow the economy's growth rate down to try to quell that inflation.
Higher interest rates means higher borrowing costs for all Americans on their credit cards, cars, student loans, on their homes, where mortgage rates have already topped 6%, and also a hit on retirement savings.
What's happening right now should be a warning bell that get out of debt that you have and don't take on as much debt, because whatever you take on is going to cost you more.
Experts say most consumers will feel the pain, and For those living paycheck to paycheck, it could mean making difficult decisions. Personal finance author Michelle Singletary recommends holding off on big purchases until the overheated economy stabilizes.
Is this the right time? Can you wait before you jump into the housing market or to buy that new car? Because it's going to cost you more.
The Fed's move does have a silver lining for some. Economist Mark Zandi says higher rates could benefit savers.
Ultimately, this should be a plus for you because you'll get a higher rate on that.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Former President Donald Trump is facing new legal trouble. The New York Attorney General announced a sweeping lawsuit against Trump, his company, and his 3 oldest children. The more than 200-page document alleges a decade-long fraud scheme to inflate his net worth. These are civil charges against the Trumps, but it could have a significant implication for him, his family, and their company. As CNN, Jessica Schneider reports.
Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal.
New York's Attorney General Letitia James announcing she is suing former President Donald Trump and his 3 oldest children for lying to lenders and insurers for more than a decade, fraudulently inflating the value of their properties all over the country.
They violated several state criminal laws, including falsifying business records, issuing false financial statements, insurance fraud, and engaging in a conspiracy to commit each of these state law violations.
James is seeking drastic remedies. Her lawsuit demands Trump and his family forfeit the nearly $250 million they've illegally gained over the years, and she's looking to shut down Trump's business dealings in New York.
We are asking the court to, among other things, permanently bar Mr. Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, from serving as an officer or director in any corporation or similar entity registered and or licensed in New York.
New York's Attorney General filed this 200-plus page lawsuit after a 3-year-long investigation. James also flagging what she says are possible crimes to federal investigators.
We are referring those criminal violations that we've uncovered to the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York and the Internal Revenue Service.
James pointed to Trump's Fifth Avenue apartment as an example of the fraud. Trump allegedly claimed it was 30,000 square feet when it was actually 11,000, and he valued it at $327 million.
To this date, no apartment in New York City has ever sold for close to that amount.
James says the motive was to entice banks to loan them more money and to allow Trump and his companies to pay less in taxes.
Obviously, there's tax fraud going on here, given the massive inflation of these values.
Trump has rebuffed James's investigation over the last 3 years.
My company is bigger, stronger, far greater asset.
And he lashed out on his Truth Social page shortly after the lawsuit was filed, saying she is a fraud who campaigned on a Get Trump platform. But James, a Democrat running for re-election this year, saying Trump cannot dismiss what her office uncovered as some sort of good faith mistake.
White-collar financial crime is not a victimless crime. Everyday people cannot lie to a bank. And if they did, the government would throw the book at them. Why should this be any different?
This is a civil case that's been filed in the New York State Court. It's up to other entities like the Manhattan District Attorney's Office or the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York to determine whether criminal charges should be filed. And now we go to Stanley with this week's sports news.
Thanks, Don. See if you can guess the domain name for the Tampa Bay Rays baseball team. If you guessed Rays.com, you'd be wrong. It would be perfect, of course, and the MLB wants to buy that web address, but they can't have it because of a Seattle restaurant owner who's just too proud to sell. Callie Greenberg reports.
Way before the maps and GPS and all that fun stuff, you just had to look for the big neon sign. At Ray's Boathouse, finding the business has always been easy.
It's pretty iconic. It's not really a navigational waypoint, but it's a way a lot of fishermen find the beginning of the locks.
The 4-letter sign, a connection to Ray's history, a business that started at this spot in the 1940s by Ray Lichtenberger.
And it got too busy with the Port of Seattle, so he wanted to go in the middle of nowhere where it was super quiet, and that was here.
It's no longer a fishing business, but co-owner Doug Zeller said his team works to keep tradition.
We just have a ton of fun down here. It's great views, great wildlife, great scenery, great food, great drinks, good people.
Far from baseball's American League East.
And nowhere near Tampa Bay.
When the restaurant started its website, it purchased the domain name Rays.com. Unaware Major League Baseball would want the name for its team, the Tampa Bay Rays.
There was the Twins, and they sold out recently for an undisclosed price. So that kind of leaves us as the last holdout for an easy MLB domain name.
Like the iconic sign, the 4-letter website has made the restaurant easy to find.
I don't know. I'm kind of fascinated with why people would spend money for a domain name. At the same time, we're protective of ours, so I guess I get it.
It's been at least a decade since the MLB's asked to purchase Rays.com. Zeller says if they come back around.
Well, I'd probably take them upstairs and sit down on the deck and talk about baseball a little bit, have some beer, just discuss how the Mariners are going to beat them in the playoffs and how we're going to win the World Series this year. There wouldn't be any discussion about selling the name. It's not for sale.
It's believed the only other team domain name not owned by the MLB is Giants.com, which is owned by the New York Giants football team. The National Football League announced Apple Music as its new Super Bowl halftime show partner on Thursday. The NFL says the partnership is a multi-year deal. It comes after Pepsi, which was the partner of the halftime show for the last 10 years. Announced in May that it would be ending its deal with the NFL, Apple Music's first halftime show will take place during Super Bowl 57. On February 12th in Glendale, Arizona. Additionally, Rihanna has been confirmed to perform at the halftime show. Now back to Don.
Thanks, Stanley. That's all for Chabot News this week. Thanks to all the students and staff at the Mass Communications Department here at Chabot College for making this production possible. You can watch us anytime online at youtube.com/Chabot TV. Stay tuned to KCTH Channel 27 for more Chabot TV.